Hello, welcome to A Transplant Tale. It's your host, Sarah Adedeji, and I'm here today with Moses. So
Hello.
he's going to tell us about his story, and we're going to have a good time as usual. So kick back and enjoy the ride. Hello, Moses. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Sarah.
My pleasure. So tell us about yourself, like your journey, where you from, and what brought you to Philadelphia.
My name is Moses Ashawa. I was born and raised in Uganda, and I moved to Philadelphia when I was 24 in 2010. So you can do the math and see how old I am. I'm graying. So it's been a journey. The reason I came to the States was because I met my wife in Uganda. We met in college. She'd come studying abroad, and we became friends, and then I ended up here. So that's a little bit of a summary of my journey, but I know you're going to dig deep and find out each and every detail.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, we're so glad that you're here. We love Christy, so that's his wife, BT Dubs, you know.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for just being here and telling your story. So with the transition from Uganda to Philly, that is a huge difference.
Mm.
I just drove across states and I had a little bit of a culture shock. So, tell us about your experience. Like, how was that coming from Uganda to Philly? Like,
So coming from Uganda, Uganda is totally different from
yeah.
Philadelphia. Uh, you can imagine in Uganda, cars go honking all the time. And then I come to a place where people are driving and everything is quiet. The only time they honk at someone is when it's a near call,
Yeah.
almost running into someone, that's when they honk. In Uganda, they will just use their horns all the time.
Wow.
And the other thing is, it's a funny story. I was on Market Street. We are across Market Street right now. And so I got my first attempt to ride the bus on my own to go to Camden, New Jersey. And the bus was, I believe, 4 or 9. That's the bus going to Camden, New Jersey, if I remember correctly. And then I stood on Market Street and started waving for the buses. And each bus started passing me and it started raining.
Oh,
I was used to doing that.
yeah.
So I kept, and now what I did, the next bus that came, I ran after it. So I was chasing a bus down Market Street,
Oh
and people were
no.
looking at me and like, "What's this guy doing?" So the good thing is that I fit in the community. I was black, and if I was in a different place, they'll be like, "Oh, look at this guy chasing a bus down."
Right.
So I didn't stand out.
Yeah.
But the third attempt, I realized that everyone was standing at a shelter
Yeah.
under something, and then a bus stopped. And then I realized that I was chasing the bus the whole time, yet I was supposed to be at the bus stop.
Right.
So
There
I
was a
went under
special
the bus
place.
stop and the bus came and stopped. And then I got
You
on.
didn't have to
I
run.
didn't have to chase down the bus. So that's a
Yeah.
funny story.
Wow, that's so interesting. So how does that part work in Uganda? Like, do you run after buses in Uganda,
No,
or
you
how does that
wave at
work?
the bus. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
So you wave and they stop and pick you. Wherever you are, you just wave and then the bus stops.
Wow.
But in the US, bus you have to be at the bus stop for the bus to stop for you.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So when you got to Philly, like, what did you do? Of course, you came for your wife, but like, what did you do for work, or like, how did you get acclimated to Philadelphia?
So the initial plan was to come for 2 weeks.
Okay.
That was the plan.
Oh
I
wow.
was going to come for 2 weeks and go back to Uganda.
Uh-huh.
And then the 2 weeks became 3 weeks.
Wow.
And then I was like, I'm tired of staying in the house by myself all the day.
Yeah.
Because she would go teach, she's a teacher. She would go teach during the day and then I would stay in the house. And then I'd be like, why did I come here? It was cold, it
Yeah.
was November
Oh yeah.
and everything was dead. And so I was really, really overwhelmed by staying at home by myself. So I was like, can you get me an opportunity to go to Camden and I just volunteer?
Yeah.
So that's how I was going to Camden. That's why I was going to Camden. And so there's a non-profit in Camden called Urban Promise. So I reached there and then they told me we don't need volunteers this time, but we can send you to Wilmington, Delaware, where they are short of staff, so you can help out there.
Oh nice.
So that's how I ended up in Wilmington, Delaware for 2 years. So I worked there and I was telling you how much I was earning.
Yeah.
And so it's a non-profit, so I didn't expect much,
Yeah.
but I was I was content with the little they gave me. I
Yeah.
was happy about it and they provided room and board. And the other thing was the opportunity to interact with other interns. So it was really a huge experience for me,
Yeah.
like delving into the culture, learning about how to live in the US
Yeah.
potentially came from my journey in Wilmington, Delaware.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. I think because I feel like community is a big part of like having a transition to a different place, wherever that place may be, especially if it's a new culture. So I think that was pretty cool that you had like a built in community with that opportunity.
Yes, yes. That
Yeah.
was a huge, huge opportunity for me to delve into the culture, to know the
Yeah.
do's and the don'ts. Because I came from a culture where I knew most of the, expectations.
Right.
And here I am in the United States and I didn't know what the expectations were for me. And, I had to learn all over again. Just like you came to Philadelphia and you
Yeah.
realized that it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So then what did you do like after that opportunity? What made that 3 weeks and 2 years turn into like, okay, you know what? Let's just stay here.
So the 2 weeks were supposed. That's what I'd asked for the visa. It
Mhm.
was supposed to be 2 weeks. That's what I told the visa consular.
Okay.
I told him I'm going to the United States to visit my girlfriend's family.
Okay.
I'll be gone for 2 weeks and I'll be back to Uganda. But when I got here, I realized that we'd been dating for 2 years long distance,
Right.
and I was like, why don't I give it an opportunity to get to know this person in their own culture.
Yeah.
So I gave it time. And then I was like, how can I stay here legally
Yeah.
without breaking the laws? So I was like, can I volunteer on my visa? I came on a visitor's visa. So you're not allowed to be employed or paid.
Oh,
So I
okay.
volunteered for 6 months. If Chris is watching, I volunteered for 6 months for no pay.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, so speaking of the visa process, though, like, how did that work for you to stay longer? Because obviously you're here now. So
Yes.
how did that?
So
What
the
does that
visa
process
is
look
that I volunteered for 6 months.
like? Okay.
So that was the only loophole I could use, not receiving any payment. So
Right.
I worked for 6 months. And after the 6 months, my bosses were impressed by my commitment.
Oh,
So they petitioned, they call it petitioning.
perfect.
They petitioned for a visa for me to work legally and
Gotcha.
get paid.
Wow.
And that's how I ended up being paid the little I told you about. I
Yeah.
was still content with the little that I got
Right.
from nothing to something.
Yeah.
So I was the happiest. So I
Yeah.
got a check. At least I would, buy, pay for my phone bill. Buy
Right.
myself, some things that I needed, clothes, and because they provided clothes, but I needed stuff that, personal stuff that I needed.
Right.
So I'd take care of myself sometimes,
Yeah.
and splurge and yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow. That's really cool. And so then, what are like some of the things that you really missed about home? Because obviously, if you came here planning to be here for a little bit of time, and then you're like, okay, well now I'm gonna stay here, but I miss home. So, what are like some of those things that you miss about home?
So I missed mostly people understanding me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I worked with kids in the summer after school program. That was the arrangement of the program. So I was a school year intern, worked with the kids through the school year in the after school program, and for the summer I worked with the kids still for the summer program, which was really intense. It was like a 6 weeks program every day in the hot sun. The kids are running. So it was really great. Great experience, but intense. So I I worked there that way and learned a lot of things, and not being misunderstood by the kids because of my accent.
Oh yeah.
So I'd, tell the kids like, "Oh, you have to be seated." They'd be like, "Huh?" And they would take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they didn't want to do it and they'd
Right.
just try to get away from responsibility by blaming it on my accent. Like, huh? What are you saying? I can't understand you. so
Wow.
so I had those challenges.
Yeah.
But most of the part, like having to like ask for permission to like leave because my wife was in Philadelphia. My girlfriend back then was in Philadelphia,
Mhm.
and then I had to ask for permission each time I'd come to visit Philadelphia
Oh wow.
because I was at more of maybe an arranged like camp.
Oh
So
okay.
we stayed in a community house.
Okay.
So each time I had to leave, I had to ask for permission. And that was really kind of different, because I was an adult and asking for
Right.
permission. So such are the things that it really, it got me to speed to know that there's responsibility and there's hurdles you have to go through, learning and living in a new environment. Yeah,
Absolutely. That's really cool. And
yeah.
so, so fast forward to today.
Mm.
do you have? Well, I guess you can tell us like what does your family look like, and then we can tell.
So I'm a proud dad of two girls,
Yeah,
the best daughters in the whole world.
yeah, that
I
is.
have Rachel and Ruthie. They are my everything, I should say.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm happy to be in their lives and come alongside them through this journey. And
absolutely.
I've learned a lot. Parenting takes a lot of patience, a lot of um, understanding. You
Yeah.
have to sit back and sometimes contemplate on like how am I going to nurture this young one? How am I going
Yeah.
to teach them how to grasp some of the basics in life?
Right.
So it's been a journey for me, yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm still learning.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna ask. Like, how do you go about combining and introducing and making sure the girls like have the culture pieces since they are in like a different environment than what you grew up in? Like, how do
Mm.
you integrate all of that into your family?
That's a very good question. So, uh, I grew up in a very humble family. I'm one of eight, and then being raised by a single mom, and she had to wear both hats as a dad and a mom. So I take, a lot of. I give her credit for the things she taught me. Gratitude, patience, and being able to understand other people, um, feeling for other people, and that's something that I'm still trying to find in this culture, empathy. I think I over em, empathize. That's the word, empathize
Mm-hmm.
with other people than I should. Because that's what was ingrained in me as a kid.
Right.
So empathy is what I'm trying to teach my kids, and like you have to be intuitive and understand how other people are feeling,
Absolutely.
and come alongside them. And I'm seeing it in my eldest because she's older now. She's able to empathize. I think she gets it from somewhere, maybe in our genes, or
Yeah.
but she will be able to apologize immediately when she does something wrong, or ask you what's wrong with you. Like
Yeah.
if you're sneezing consistently, she's like, "What's wrong with you, daddy?" So
Yeah.
things like that, feeling for someone else, which is really important. I think something that we have to learn as a culture,
Yeah.
and not to be on the extremes of like empathize. It's a hard word to say,
Empathize.
empathize all the time, but sometimes to take that step and get to know how people are feeling, how they are doing,
Right.
and I think that's really what's important in a friendship and a relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really important. So, how was the adjustment to just like the food? Because I know if y'all, well, you all don't know yet because we haven't talked about it yet. But my husband's from Africa, and that was one of the big things for him was like the food. So, how was that for you?
So the food was the most challenging thing.
I
So
can
I came around November, so that's Thanksgiving. And then everyone was happy, excited, that I had come at the right time to try the American food. They're like, no, you should give him everything to try. And then I show up at the American Thanksgiving table, and I couldn't pick any any dish because everything was different for me. So there was turkey, there was sweet beans, there was corn, literally name it.
yeah,
It was all there. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try the beans because, I grew up eating beans.
right.
I'm like, I can identify with this. And trying them, they were sweet beans. We never eat sweet beans.
Yeah.
So I ended up uh, trying turkey. Then the turkey was really different as well. It was not salty. So I'm used to eating everything with salt.
Right.
And the turkey was just mild. And it was different.
Yeah.
So for Thanksgiving that year, I felt really disappointed. I didn't eat as much as I wanted to eat. So I ate a little bit. And then that's been my journey. And then things like pizza. I had tried pizza back in Uganda, but not a lot of pizza.
Right.
And then having a lot of cheese on the pizza and cheese on everything.
Yeah.
So cheese steaks, pizza, and things like that. And it was really a journey that I'm learning now.
Yeah.
Now that I have assimilated, I can relate with someone coming to this culture and trying trying the American foods, and
Right.
Yeah, the delicacies.
Right.
It takes time to get used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when your kids visit Uganda, like what are some of the foods that you're like, okay, you have to try, and of course explain them because if you say the name, we may not know it, or
Yes.
somebody may not know it,
Yeah.
but you know.
So, especially for Rachel now, who's 4, the last time we visited Uganda in the summer
Mhm.
last year, so I wanted her to try something called chapati. So it's like naan, flatbread.
Mhm.
So the version that I wanted her to try was the one with it's called a Rolex.
Okay.
So that's a
Like not the
fancy name,
watch.
not the watch. It's a fancy name. It's
Yeah.
called the Rolex. So it's a naan, the flatbread.
Okay.
Then they make an omelette
Oh wow.
and add vegetables and then roll it in a wrap. It's like
Oh.
a taco, not a but bigger than a taco.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I wanted her to try, but I was scared that she would have a reaction maybe or something. So I held back, but I gave her the chapati. So yeah,
Did she like it?
she loved it.
Oh,
She
good,
loved the
good, good,
chapati. Yeah,
good, good,
yeah,
good. Oh, that's exciting.
yeah.
Any other foods?
Uh, we ate a couple of foods. She loved the fruit. We have the best pineapples. Yeah, they are really juicy and ripe. She ate those avocados. So we tried literally most of the things that I thought that she would, remember.
Yeah.
And the other thing she that stuck with her was the means of transport, because in Uganda they have these bikes. You pay and get on a motorbike, and then they ride you around the city.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so she would see them around. See people, drive by us, and she'd be like, "Who's that? There's a lot of motorbikes." We're like, "Oh, those are border borders." And so she's like, "Can I ride on a border border?" We're like, "No, you're still young. You don't have, you need a helmet or something like
Yeah.
that." So, but she was really intrigued by the border borders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when she gets older, you'll have to.
When she gets older, then I think, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to let her ride on one of those.
That'll be really fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. And then, so in your journey here, were there any like challenges that you encountered or like anything that you're like, oh, like, am I making the right choice? Or everything was just like, you're like, I'm going to get my lady. I don't care what happens.
No, there are challenges, especially when I was still working at in the community setting. So, for example, the communal refrigerator would have, like, say, someone would bring their lunch, a sandwich, and put it there and write their name on it.
Mm.
I'd never seen that. So I got into trouble and ate someone's lunch,
Uh-oh.
not knowing. I thought it was a communal refrigerator.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was hungry. I was like, let me. So I got in trouble. So I had to
Uh-oh.
repent. And so things like that, I had to learn, that, oh, it's a communal refrigerator, but people have to put in their food and label it their names. So things like that. Not that I was, insensitive to that, but I
Right.
didn't know.
Right.
So those are some of the challenges that I faced, and because I thought, oh, we're living as a community, so we share everything,
Yeah.
but especially the sandwiches were off limits.
Yeah.
So, and not that I allowed sandwiches, I took a long time without eating lunch
Oh, no.
because everything was cold and it was the winter, and I'm used to eating hot meals.
Right.
And it would be like 80, but I would still be consuming a hot meal.
Yeah.
And now here I come and it's freezing, and people are offering me a sandwich.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh my goodness, I can't even try this.
Yeah.
So I got into trouble, from time to time, not knowing the culture and expectations. But I think those are the things that shaped me now to be cautious, with people, and how I deal with people, how I relate with people, and how I try to understand people based on those challenges that I met along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool. That's
yeah.
cool. So, one question is like, what was something that was like encouraging to you, like a quote, a scripture, a song, or something that was encouraging to you, like throughout your journey of adjustment?
That's a good question. I think the grounding that I was given as a kid was really, really important. I was raised in the church, and that gave me perspective about, like, life and expectations.
Yeah.
And the place I worked at, Urban Promise, was Christian based, so everything was like communal. Would have like Bible study, would have communal lunches, and pray before eating. So that was really encouraging. But what kept me going on my in some of the toughest situations was knowing who I am as an individual, and I think that's what I held so sacred. I knew that I was God's child and I was God's beloved, and I come to a land where people are welcome to live freely. You don't have to impose that on them, and I realized that's okay. And but my grounding was knowing that God was with me. And as a kid, I learned a lot of um, psalms. Like reading the psalms,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really encouraging to me. And also knowing that I was in a community of other people that share the same values kept me going, and I was encouraged most of the times.
I love that.
Yeah.
So to round off, just what is some advice that you would give to an aspiring transplant, whether it be from Africa or anywhere?
So if you're coming to Philadelphia, don't chase a bus like I did. So I would say be open and willing to learn. I think that's the most important thing: being willing to learn and to see how things are done in other cultures. Yeah, I think I sat back and realized that I had to slow down and then watch others and learn from them,
Absolutely.
and that's the most important thing that I can relate with at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say to the people that I didn't ask about?
Uh I think you've asked most of the questions. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you all so much for tuning in. Say bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one. See ya. Thank you all so much for watching A Transplant's Tale. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.